Next part, it's same subject, Netilas Yadayim, washing a second time. Even after one has washed your hands, if the hands are still wet, they're still able to contract tuma from unclean hands. Therefore, one must be careful not to touch the hands of another individual who has not washed for Netilas Yadayim. If one has done so, she must dry her hands and wash again. This is the case only if your hands were still wet. However, if your hands if she already had said bracha and dry her hands, if she realized that she touched someone's unclean hands while her hands were still wet, the bracha is not repeated after the washing second time. So let's try to understand. So this spiritual impurity is passed only through the liquid. So if my hands are spiritually impure, right, and somebody else is clean, so if our hands are dry, there is no problem. This impurity is not going to pass, specifically this impurity, right? But if one of us hands are wet, so that's right, wet enough to so the definition of the wet. So if for example I don't know if my finger is wet, so if my hand is wet, right? So I'm going to touch my hand with my finger, with another one, with dry, and try to put it on somewhere else and see if it's actually transfer the moisture. So if it's if that second place is wet, then this hand is wet. Otherwise, it's not considered halachically wet, and there is no problem. Right. So here he's talking about situation when her hands are wet and she touched somebody. So we say she, but the same halacha as for men. It's exactly the same, right? But she's touched somebody's hands, which of the person who did not clean wash their hands. So I would say child, her son came over and she touched. There is no problem, right? I mean, it's not there is no problem. There is situation. So in this case, since her hands became again impure, right, after touching somebody else's hands, even though they were dried, her hands were wet and the other person's hands were dry, right, in this situation. So she must wash her hands again to purify them, but no blessing. This time is no blessing. Continue. Many times a person's hands will become tamei during a bread meal. This can happen if one touches the covered part of the body or simply by using the bathroom. Many don't realize that if they want to continue to eat, they must wash their hands again with a cup consistent with regular Netilas Yadayim. Although there is an opinion in the poskim that bracha al Netilas Yadayim is repeated in this case, the custom is to follow the opinion not to recite bracha again. One second. Again, 53. See Mishnah Brura. After washing again, one should preferably eat piece of bread as the first food. So let's try to understand. So we're trying to keep our hands pure, right? That during the whole the complete meal. But if a person make her hands impure, so she must wash again. So what does it mean? So must wash again meaning I want to talk about men. It's easy, right? So if I scratch myself a shoulder, I scratch my shoulder. That's it. So it's a part of the body that's usually covered. I have to go wash my hands. So even though there is a Piskei Teshuvah said say blessing, we go by Mishnah Brura. So he said not necessarily. So the bottom line, we do not make blessing on washing of the hands, even though you have to wash them, but without blessing. Or for example, I want to tie my shoelace. My shoelace got undone. So I tie my shoelace. I have to wash my hands in order to continue eating. Go ahead.
That's skin-to-skin scratching, right? Correct?
It's skin to skin. No, it's only covered part of the skin, covered. So if I scratch my forehead, there is no problem. Or if those are only like places when you have impurities. So impurity if somebody picked in his nose or in his ears, right? Or touch the skin, like covered part of the body, like, right? So we presume that there's a sweat, and sweat has this impurity. You understand? So or man touches himself under the kippah. It's also it is also part of the body that usually covered. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so yeah, we finish Netilas Yadayim. And of course, okay, let me go back a little. So of course, and after the bathroom. So after the bathroom, we have to wash our hands, and as a separate washing, as we said. So like one washing is for the bathroom, and another washing is Netilas Yadayim before eating bread. But of course, you don't say any blessing on washing of the hands before eating bread, because you already did so. Even though, according to some opinions, they, as we mentioned, they say you have to say the blessing even in the middle of the meal. That we allowed to go by lenient opinion and don't say the blessing, just wash your hands.